Welcome to Tibet Unlocked. Before we jump into it, a few things to mention. This episode contains content that may be alarming to some listeners. It will include discussions on suicide, death, and torture. Listener discretion is advised. In this episode, you will notice a beep sound used to protect the identities of some of the people mentioned in this story. Thank you for listening.
And asking my mother, "Are you sure really you want to kill yourself? How gonna do your kids?" My mom say, "I'm not sure, but they will. I'm sure they will, take care of themselves. And I don't have choice. I have to do this. This the story my mom told me, and they really decided this. They want in the present. Sorry, this makes me so much in emotion. Then they back and they tried it. Then the police come. Sorry, I can't. Oh.
That's the voice of Nyima Lhamo, recounting her life in Tibet before she escaped the country. She is the niece of the most prominent Tibetan political prisoner, Denzin Rinpoche, who was targeted ruthlessly by the Chinese government for his extraordinary efforts to protect Tibetan culture and identity, including the running of Tibetan language schools. Rinpoche died in Chinese prison in 2015. On July 2016, Nyima Lhamo arrived in India at the age of 21, with one thing on her mind, and that was to seek justice for her uncle. She now resides in New York, working in Whole Foods. She is tall with long black hair, unassuming, very bubbly and fun-loving, and she is all of that, but also one of the most courageous and steadfast advocates I have ever met for her uncle and for Tibetans inside Tibet. She has risked everything, leaving her family behind under the microscope of the Chinese authorities.
I was born in the town Eastern Tibet. My village is called Litang Dechichong. It's right corner of Litang Monastery. It's very small and very quiet. And but people are very nice and friendly. Yeah, my life in Tibet when I was in Tibet, my childhood is so boring, but I have some very funny friend and nice. We wake up like around 7 or 6:30 or like that, and make breakfast for family. From before my parents leave wake up, we have to wake up early. My sister and me special all the time. Then I make this and eat it and stay at home and clean that. And then also cook lunch or eat. Sometimes go outside, talk with somebody, and sometimes go to the mall to shopping, then back. And every afternoon we have some friend, we talk, or sometimes we can go like the bar, like clubs. Yeah, but every time we have to escape. The parents didn't allow to go. So
Okay.
every afternoon we have to create a lie. Yeah.
There's the typical teenage.
Yes, I think so.
Except Nimalamo's life or story is anything but typical. And as a Tibetan, I have come to accept that this is just true for so many of the people I'm surrounded by.
My first school is Geshe Lomba, which is my uncle founded it. And I take class there for 1 year. And then I back, the school is closed. And I went to Litang Middle School for a few years. That's all.
And so your uncle, you mean Tenzin Rinpoche?
Yes, right.
Tenzin Rinpoche was one of the most high-profile political prisoners in modern Tibetan history. In April 2002, Chinese authorities arrested Rinpoche and his relative Lobsang Tunduk, a former monk. Rinpoche was sentenced to life in prison under the charges of terrorism and inciting separatism in Kham, eastern Tibet. Rinpoche denied the charges against him and maintained his innocence till his death in 2015.
I remember there's some leader, government leader comes with to check us in many times, and they asking Rinpoche, they want to keep the school. You can keep the school, and by your personally, they say to my uncle they will take care of the students. Then I think my uncle accept it and given the school to the government. And after few years, after the few months, I clearly remember the food is very bad. I clearly remember one of my friends or like my sister friend. They threw the food in the water because they told us the food is very bad. In front of them, they threw food in the water. And after a few months, the school is closed. I don't know the reason. Then later I found it's they don't want. Yeah, they said we are from Litauen. It's different province.
Province.
Yeah, so they say we didn't allowed to live in the school. Then we left the school, and then later I think they closed.
I don't think I've asked you this question before, but what were your fondest memories of Rinpoche while growing up in Tibet?
Rinpoche has lots of nieces and nephew, include my sister. When I was living in Uto, when my time, they don't have really like right now they don't have like anything crane like very nice, full like. I remember my uncle went one time he went to Nyache and he back and carrying a gift only me, and he asked me, there's like gift for the crane and it's very nice. The bottle is white and the top is like pink, it's like mushroom. The smile is very good. I was like so happy. So from that I know how he cared lots of. Also I was this is the only me for surprise.
I think you can really hear it in Nyima Lamo's voice. This small offering of cream meant so much to her as a young child. It was a touching gift from her uncle that made her feel loved and special, a memory that she would cherish forever. I think this just shows what kind of person Rinpoche was, a loving, kind individual. But around this time, I believe Nyima Lhamo was probably too young to know that Rinpoche was already under the watchful eye of the Chinese authorities. His scrutiny intensified upon his return to Tibet in 1987 from India, where he had spent 5 years furthering his education. During this period, His Holiness the Dalai Lama bestowed upon him the esteemed title of Dugu, reincarnated Lama, amplifying his influence and responsibility among the local community. Despite facing obstacles from the Chinese authorities in his social and religious development efforts, Rinpoche remained undeterred. Between 1991 and 1995, he built 7 monasteries and oversaw the construction of an old people's home and a school for orphans and children from poor families. Rinpoche was becoming popular for his generosity, humanitarianism, and philanthropy. He was an advocate for the social, cultural, economic, and religious rights of local residents, challenging officials on failed policies and confronting those who prioritized their own interests over the communities. However, his outspoken support for His Holiness the Dalai Lama and advocacy for Tibetan rights drew the attention of Chinese authorities, as these were considered harmful by the Chinese government. This basically led to a campaign of harassment and targeting against Rinpoche, ultimately resulting in his arrest alongside Lobsang Tundrups. Tragically, Lobsang Tundrup was swiftly sentenced to immediate death and executed shortly afterwards. His family denied closure as they were never allowed to see his body, only receiving his ashes. I took the opportunity to ask Nyima Lhamo about her recollections of Rinpoche's arrest.
I remember one night, and my aunt's husband called my mom that my uncle was arrested, and the time my mom was crying, and I was like, she cried and make me wake up, and I got the news, and she said an uncle is arrested. I feel like he will release some because he's as we are believe for Lama, he can do nothing like very big criminal. I think one day he will release some. For me, I didn't saw him, until he was killed by the CCP after 13 years.
In the course of 13 years, Nyima Lhamo's mother was permitted to visit Rinpoche in prison only 3 times. At the onset of his arrest, they had no information or knowledge of his whereabouts, and the only way to get information was to protest. Local women started to organize. Rinpoche's relatives, aunts, nieces, sisters, Rinpoche's students, female students, all began to organize. Why women? Because they believed that as women, they might face less violence than men. They protested for 21 days. Despite their efforts, there was no response from the law or the police. The silence from the Chinese authorities, coupled with the uncertainty surrounding Rinpoche's safety and whereabouts, inflicted unbearable pain upon Rinpoche's family and the community. This anguish eventually led Nyima Lhamo's mother and a devoted student of Rinpoche to contemplate the unimaginable. In the face of such despair, she, along with Rinpoche's student, tragically chose to end their own lives.
And there's nobody to take care of us, once my mom left. And there's no way to get the Rinpoche information. There's also some women, they are really respect and love Rinpoche. And they think, if they didn't tell us where Rinpoche keep it, if they didn't let us visit Rinpoche, we must do something. Then my mother, and also there's a aja, it's called and they are discussed, and they said we're gonna to die, in front of the president for the protest, and I don't know, they discuss, there's like county, they have like a what river, and my mother and the aja want to jump this river, and there's aja, it's called, and she tells my mom, if you jump in the water and nobody gonna get your like body, so we don't know how to talk, how to protest for that, maybe the good idea is you guys go to suicide and in front of the president, then we can do protest more about this case. Otherwise we don't have idea, if you jump the water we can get your body, dead body. So there's no way to say something. If you suicide in front of the person, it's go more like uh, reason to protest. Then they think it's good idea. And also my aunt asking my mother, are you sure really you want to kill yourself? How gonna do your kids? My mom said, I'm not sure, but they will, I'm sure they will, take care of themselves, and I don't have choice, I have to do this, this the story my mom told me. And they really decided this. They want in the present. Sorry, this makes me so much in emotion. Then they back and they tried it, then the police come. Sorry, I can't. Oh. Yeah, then the police, they think, oh, they're really going to kill themselves. Then they uh you know hold my mother and I just bring them inside in the home, and they decide, they promise them, let my mother and them to visit Rinpoche. But at the end they told only the Rinpoche parents or sibling or like kids, but Rinpoche don't have kids, and the parents already passed. Only the sister.
This was particularly hard to listen to. My heart feels heavy with sorrow. It's unimaginable that Tibetans inside Tibet feel that the only way to bring about real change or even be heard is to take their own lives. The conviction and the steadfast commitment to truth, justice, and the preservation of our culture and land is both immense and profound, yet also overwhelming. It was especially difficult to hear that Nyima Lhamo had also attempted suicide after Rinpoche was murdered in Chinese prison. Despite the family pleas, China refused to return Rinpoche's body, or provide a health report detailing his death. This lack of closure and respect for human dignity led to Nyima Lhamo's desperate act.
Then when the time my mother and aunt was like hit them hand on the wall, we said, you guys kill my uncle, kill Rinpoche. Because why? There's lots of reason. During the 13 years, they didn't allow family to hire the lawyer. They didn't allow the family to go to super court. A law system it says very nicely, but on the Rinpoche, they totally blocked everything. I was very mad. Then I want to kill myself. I have the scarf with me. Then I feel in the outside of the gate. I want uh suicide myself. Why? Because there's nobody we can talk the truth. And even though you want to get to justify, but there's nobody listen your story. My aunt, my mother, we protested, nobody listen, nobody care. Then until we try to suicide myself, to kill myself, then the police come to burn us into the office. Then we get talk kind of that. Then I feel like people why they do suicide because we don't have freedom of to go outside, we don't have the freedom of to talk. So I feel like if I kill myself in front of the person, in front of the people, then the people will be interested, will be question why this girl killed that himself. So I found that then outside people or will be investigating a question asking this situation why the people doing that.
I later asked Nyima Lhamo what was the pivotal moment that shifted her from the brink of suicide to seeking refuge in exile.
Rinpoche told my mom the first time when my mother visited him in prison, he told that, I got beaten lots by the policeman. They take my all the clothing and put him like hot water and a cold water. Give me a second. And told him you are the like Lama. If you have magical power, why you didn't show right now? You should show. Then he said he get a lot of beat and told my mother don't be angry with them. The government, CCP, they didn't want him because of the main point is that he respect his holiness and he loved to bend people. That's why, and you have to clarify my case, and you don't need shy because I didn't do any criminal. And then since then, I got this idea from my mom's. She always want after visit Rinpoche, she always shared the story. So I think if I do back, like to fighting a government again or to find somebody leader or governor to who arrested my uncle, maybe we do fighting or killing each other. Then I feel like, oh, it doesn't work. As Rinpoche said before, I have to go outside. One thing, man important thing is that Rinpoche said, because they hit me, they don't like me because of I respect his holiness. So I love the people of Tibet. So I think I have to go get outside to say the thing, two things are His Holiness and the President of Tibet, because I'm Tibet. I realized that as Tibetan, we have also leader. I have to share the story to us. That is, I take responsible as like niece. Then I think when that time, if I didn't go, regrets. Yeah. So I decided.
And did you tell anybody this is your plan?
No, really, nobody asking. If somebody ask, I yes, I share in some of them. I just told my family that I'm going to visit my father's hometown, and my father's hometown. That I think it's hard to get phone call, and everybody don't know where I go. When I got to Nyapa, the news is sharing some little bit. Then the police go my home. I think Then they found it. They asked my mom, "Where's me?" Then my mom said, "I don't know. She went to my father's home. I don't know really. You have the camera. You know you should check it. You're responsible, not my responsible. Younger people, whatever they go, who knows? You know." My mom told them that.
When your umbrella said, "Oh, you can see the cameras. You have
Yes,
the cameras."
because
Where?
outside of my home, they have the camera, CCTV camera, so they can check my family number anyway.
So they have cameras outside of your house,
Yes,
looking at your house.
yeah.
Oh my God. And is that in the whole of the town or just your house?
I think some of them they have also, but the camera is outside of my home. Is usually it's like turn around, like not really before we move. Like then they come out, turn out to my family outside of door. Yeah.
So why do you think they put cameras outside your house?
You know, I from my experience, after my mom and I arrested, before we release the the Litang's police, Spashi, and the leader, and also they came. They said, you can you we release you guys, but you can't go anywhere, and especially you, that told me. And now we have these people who will watch you guys, and without permission, even though you guys go outside of the Litang, please, you should tell us. Then I feel like I'm rest. Why? And we get outside, the carriers always know wherever I go, even though usually I'm really don't like to sleep with somebody's home, you know. I'm like crazy, you know, even though like my aunt or cousins. That after that I go my friend's home and I try to sleep there, and how it will be. You know, one time they found it, they asked my mom where's me. Their mom said, you know, as young people, I don't know, every single days they what they're doing. You have the care. My mom were in the police, you have the care, why you didn't check it? Then there's nothing, you know, answered her.
So that camera that they put when you were before you were arrested,
Mm,
is it still there today?
yes, it's still. And usually they can take it if we request, but even though we request to take this camera out, they didn't. And they put a lot of camera in my hometown, but not everybody's outside of the door.
So how does that actually make you feel? You know, you've risked so much, your family has risked so much, and have lost so much. Now that you're in the US, do you still feel compelled to speak out? And what are the consequences for that? I mean, I know many Tibetans who have families in who still have families inside Tibet. Their relatives are often harassed and targeted and made to put pressure on their relatives in exile to stay silent on issues. Otherwise, we face consequences and persecution um, inside Tibet. So, how does that affect you and your advocacy for your uncle and Tibetans inside Tibet?
Yeah, yeah. You know, one of the time I really remember my mom told me, you know, the police always come in a lot, like, you know, before, like she kind of every month she have to go to in a police station, and the police said, you know, they take a lot of document and they say, that's look that your daughter talked outside of the country, and she talked a lot bad things about, you know, Chinese government. That is very bad, and you know, she's the bad politicus in the strand, you know, so easter Tibet. So that is very bad, you know. If she continue, and you know, your brother, once she get arrested, there's nobody to, you know, do anything for him. If you know, as God is saying, your daughter, we are not going to take any responsible. You know, we have lots of spa around the world. The Chinese government is become like one of the powerful government in the world. So just your family, it's very easy, like to do anything with just like insect. If we want to kill you, just like very easy, like insect. They arrested all my two of brother and my mother, and also I think my mother get beat a lot too.
They arrested them because of you speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
So, did that make you feel like you should be quiet?
Yes, it's a lot of pressure, stress, set. That is the very big challenge for me. When I got here to share the story, if they give my family to it, it's lots of precious challenge for me to continue to do my advocacy. But I think if I didn't tell, that is also sad for me, and it's very big challenging for me.
In the shadow of constant surveillance, Nyima Lamo's family navigates their lives under the watchful eyes of the Chinese Communist government, scrutinizing their every move. This suffocating level of control stifles the basic freedoms of Tibetan people yearning to live authentically in their ancestral lands. But amidst this darkness, I am inspired. I'm inspired by the continued nonviolent resistance of Tibetans in Tibet and Nyima Lamo's journey as she shines as a beacon of resilience, hope, and unwavering determination. Her tireless advocacy for her uncle and all Tibetans enduring the oppressive grip of Chinese occupation continues to inspire and ignite a global call for justice. Her story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of Tibetans in Tibet and in exile. Tibet Unlocked is releasing Nyima Lamo's important story just a month after Tibet was once again ranked as the least free place in the world for the 8th consecutive year by Freedom House. This year, Tibet received a score of 0 out of 100 for civil and political rights. It is vital that we share these stories with our families, friends, colleagues, and elected representatives. I thank you for listening.